أحد حاول يتعلم لغة جديدة كان هدفها لو أحد حاول يتعلم لغة جديدة أكيد مر عليه شعور الإحباط هذا لما العقل يعلق في حلقة ترجمة لكل كلمة. العملية بطيئة ومتعبة وتحس إنها مو طبيعية أبداً. بس ماذا لو في طريقة نتعلم فيها لغة جديدة بنفس الطريقة اللي تعلمنا فيها لغتنا الأولى بالضبط؟ اليوم رح نستكشف طريقة حاولت تسوي هالشي عن طريق إنها تلغي الوسيط اللي هو الترجمة وتخلق خط مباشر بين التفكير والكلام بلغة جديدة.
خلونا نفكر بهالشي لحظة. وإحنا أطفال ما جلسنا مع كتب قواعد أو بطاقات كلمات، كنا ببساطة نستوعب اللغة. سمعنا وأشرنا على الأشياء وربطنا الأصوات بالعالم اللي حولنا، وفي الأخير بدينا نتكلم. هذه العملية الطبيعية جداً هي مفتاح فهم الطريقة اللي رح نتكلم عنها اليوم.
قبل هالموجة الجديدة من التفكير كان تعلم اللغات غالباً شيء ثقيل وممل. الطريقة اللي كانت منتشرة وقتها، طريقة القواعد والترجمة، كانت كلها تتمحور حول حفظ القواعد وترجمة النصوص. كان الموضوع أشبه بتشريح لغة في مختبر أكتر من إنه تعلم كيف تتكلم مع شخص تاني. ممكن المتعلم يعرف كل القواعد بس ما يقدر يدير محادثة بسيطة.
وهذا كان تحول ضخم جداً. على جهة نشوف الطريقة القديمة، طالب قاعد يستقبل القواعد بشكل سلبي وغالباً ما يكون طفشان أو مرهق. الهدف كان مجرد المعرفة عن اللغة. لكن الفكرة الجديدة على الجهة الثانية كان هدفها تحويل الطالب إلى مشارك نشط. الهدف ما عاد هو المعرفة باللغة وبس، الهدف صار استخدامها فعلياً للتواصل.
مع بداية القرن العشرين، مجموعة من اللغويين والمعلمين في كل أوروبا بدأوا يسألون أنفسهم: لحظة، أكيد في طريقة أحسن من كده. تحدوا طريقة القواعد والترجمة القديمة، وكانوا يبحثون عن شيء طبيعي وفعال أكثر. وكان إلهامهم هو الطريقة المثالية اللي كل واحد فينا تعلم فيها لغته الأم.
وهذه كانت الفكرة الجوهرية. الهدف ما كان تحليل اللغة، الهدف كان إن الواحد يعيش اللغة. الفكرة كانت تدريب العقل على التفكير والتكلم مباشرة باللغة الجديدة، وتكسير حاجز الترجمة البطيء والمزعج يلي يمنع الوصول للطلاقة الحقيقية. طيب، إيش هي الخلطة السرية لهذه الطريقة المباشرة؟ خلونا نتعمق في القواعد والمبادئ الأساسية اللي تخليها مختلفة تماماً.
الشيء المثير هنا هو كيف أن هذه المبادئ تحاكي التعلم الطبيعي. الكلمات تتربط مباشرة بالأشياء والأفعال. القواعد ما يتم تدريسها بشرح ممل، بالعكس يتم تعلمها بشكل استقرائي، يعني العقل يكتشف الأنماط بنفسه من كثرة الأمثلة والاستخدام، بالضبط زي الطفل. ولاحظوا التركيز، بناء مفردات مفيدة هو الأهم.
وهذه هي القاعدة الأجرأ والأكثر أهمية. منع اللغة الأم يجبر العقل على أنه يبدأ يفكر باللغة الجديدة، وهذا يخلق بيئة انغماس كاملة داخل الفصل. كانت خطوة ثورية جدا في وقتها.
طيب، كيف ممكن المدرس يشرح معنى كلمة تفاحة بدون ما يترجمها؟ الجواب هو الواقعيات. بكل بساطة المدرس يمسك تفاحة حقيقية ويقول الكلمة باللغة المستهدفة، وهذا يبني رابط مباشر وقوي بين الكلمة والشيء في عقل المتعلم. استوعبنا النظرية، بس كيف شكل هذا كله على أرض الواقع؟ خلونا ندخل فصل دراسي ونشوف كيف يتم تطبيق الطريقة المباشرة. انسوا الفصول الهادئة اللي الطلاب فيها بس يسمعون للمدرس. الفصل الدراسي اللي يتبع الطريقة المباشرة مليان طاقة وحياة، هو مبني على التفاعل المستمر. طلاب يتشجعون يسألون ويتكلمون مع بعض ويتفاعلوا مع المدرس، وكل هذا طبعاً يصير باللغة المستهدفة وبس. يتم استخدام مجموعة متنوعة من الأنشطة عشان يبقون الطلاب متفاعلين ويتعلموا من كل الزوايا. القراءة بصوت عالي تساعد على تحسين النطق والسلاسة. ممارسة المحادثة طبعاً تبنى الطلاقة. حتى الإملاء يستخدمونه عشان يقوون مهارتي الاستماع والكتابة بنفس الوقت. هذه الشريحة تلخص الدورة التعليمية ببراعة. تبدأ بأن المدرس يوري المعنى بصرياً، بعدين تنتقل للتفاعل من خلال الأسئلة. لكن الخطوة الثالثة والمهمة هي التصحيح. لاحظوا أن المدرس ما يعطي الإجابة الصحيحة على طول، هو يوجه الطالب عشان يكتشف الخطأ بنفسه. وهذا تحول في دور المدرس من مجرد ملقن إلى ميسر لعملية الاكتشاف.
خلونا ناخد مثال شائع لخطأ ممكن يطيح فيه طالب. هذه الجملة غير صحيحة من ناحية القواعد. كيف رح يتعامل المدرس مع هالموقف باستخدام الطريقة المباشرة؟
الأسلوب الأول هو تقديم خيار مباشر. هالتوجيه البسيط يجبر الطالب إنه يوقف ويفكر بالفرق بين الكلمتين ويختار الكلمة الصحيحة بنفسه، وهذا يثبت المعلومة بشكل أفضل بكتير من مجرد إعطاء الإجابة.
الأسلوب الثاني أذكى شوي. المدرس ببساطة يكرر جملة الطالب الغلط بس بنبرة استفهام. هذه إشارة لطيفة إنه في شيء مو صحيح، وتشجع الطالب إنه يسمع اللي قاله للتو ويلاقي الخطأ بنفسه.
في الطريقة الثالثة يكرر المدرس الجملة بس يوقف قبل الكلمة الغلط مباشرة. هالوقفة مفاجئة تشتغل زي الضوء اللي يسلط على نقطة الخطأ بالضبط ويحث الطالب إنه يملى الفراغ بالكلمة الصحيحة. إذن بعد كل هذا، إيش هو الأثر الدائم؟ ليش كانت هذه الطريقة مهمة جداً؟ وإيش الفوائد الرئيسية اللي تركت بصمة دائمة على تعليم اللغات؟
الفوائد كانت واضحة. هذه الطريقة جذابة بطبيعتها لأنها نشطة مو سلبية. المتعلمين يبدأون يستخدمون كلمات عملية وشائعة على طول، وهذا يعطيهم شعور سريع بالإنجاز، وهذا بيبني الثقة ويخلق أساس قوي لمهارات أكثر تعقيداً مثل القراءة والكتابة بعدين.
ويمكن أكبر تحول كان في كيفية قياس النجاح. ما عاد الاختبار النهائي هو اجتياز امتحان في القواعد أو الحصول على درجة عالية في اختبار ترجمة. صار النجاح يتعلق بالأداء الفعلي. هل تقدر تسوي محادثة؟ هل تقدر تكتب فقرة مترابطة؟ كان التركيز بالكامل على الذي يقدر المتعلم يسويه باللغة.
وهذا يتركنا مع سؤال نفكر فيه. لما نستخدم تطبيق لغات يعرض لنا صورة لكلمة، أو لما نشارك في فصل دراسي يعتمد على المحادثة، إحنا في الواقع قاعدين نشوف إرث الطريقة المباشرة مستمرة ليومنا هذا. فإلى أي مدى هذه الأفكار القديمة ما زالت تؤثر على طريقة تعلمنا اليوم؟
All right, today we're jumping into a language teaching method that was honestly revolutionary for its time. We're talking about the direct method, an approach from way back in the early 20th century that basically tried to copy how we all learned our very first language, naturally. So let's get into it. So picture this. You walk into your first day of a new language class. You're ready to go. And the teacher lays down just one rule, but it's an unbreakable one. And that one rule? It's going to define everything you do in that class. It's really the heart and soul of the direct method. Okay, so Section 1, a classroom rebellion. To really get what the direct method is all about, you've got to know what it was rebelling against. Because that's what it was, a rebellion. It was pushing back hard against the super old school, boring, textbook-heavy way of teaching languages that had been around forever. And this slide just lays it out so perfectly. Look at the difference. The old way, the grammar translation method, basically treated you like a passive sponge. You just sat there, memorized rules, translated stuff. That's it. But the direct method, it completely flipped the script. Suddenly, you, the student, are an active participant. The whole point isn't to just know the rules. It's to actually talk to people, to communicate. Which brings us to part 2, the golden rule. Yeah, we're back to that one single rule that everything else is built on. There it is. Translation is not allowed. That's the rule. Simple, right? But also pretty radical. Imagine that. The second you walk into class, you can't speak your own language at all. The idea is to force your brain to stop leaning on your mother tongue like a crutch. You have to start making those new connections completely from scratch. And this is the why behind it all. The goal is to create direct contact with the new language. Think about it. You're not learning that Libro means book. You're learning that this thing you're holding is a Libro. You're connecting the new word directly to the object, or the idea, or the action, completely bypassing your native language. You're literally learning to think in that new language. So, okay, principles in action. How on earth does a classroom actually work without any translation? Well, it all comes down to a few key principles that guide every single thing you do. It all boils down to making those direct connections we just talked about. So instead of the teacher saying, "This is a book," they just hold up a book. If they're teaching the word walk, they'll literally walk across the room. The focus right from the start is on vocabulary you can actually use and getting the pronunciation right so people can understand you. And the grammar? Oh, this is the best part. They don't just give you the rules. Nope, you have to figure them out for yourself.
So, for example, a teacher might show you something like this. I walk, you walk. He walks, she walks. All in the language you're learning, of course. They wouldn't explain why there's an S on walks. They just say the sentences, maybe even act them out, and let you see the pattern.
And then they'd ask, what's the rule here? And you have to figure it out. This is called inductive learning. And it's so powerful because instead of just memorizing some abstract rule from a book, you're using the part of your brain that's naturally good at finding patterns. It's exactly how you learned to speak as a little kid, right? No one gave you a grammar textbook. And because you discovered the rule yourself, man, it sticks with you. All right, section 4, classroom techniques. We've talked about the big ideas, the philosophy. Now let's get practical. What does this actually look like day to day in the classroom?
Well, a typical class is super interactive. You're not just sitting there. You might start by taking turns reading a passage out loud to nail a pronunciation. Then the teacher will start asking you questions about what you just read, and you have to answer on the spot. After that, maybe you'll do some writing or even dictation, where the teacher reads something and you have to write it down. It's all about practicing everything: reading, speaking, writing, listening.
Now, with all this talking and interacting, you're gonna make mistakes, right? Of course. It's inevitable. But here's the cool thing about the direct method. A mistake isn't seen as a bad thing. It's actually an opportunity for you to fix it yourself, with the teacher just giving you a little nudge in the right direction. So instead of just shouting, wrong, the teacher might do something like this. They might offer you a choice. Did you say, I walked to school yesterday? Or I go to school yesterday? See, they're guiding you to hear the difference and pick the right one. Or here's another technique. They might just repeat your mistake back to you, but with a questioning tone. Like, you good to school? That little change in their voice is like a gentle alarm bell. It tells you, hey, something's not quite right there, and it makes you rethink it, all without stopping the conversation. Or maybe they'll do this. They'll repeat your sentence, but stop right before you made the mistake. I went to... It's like they're handing it back to you to finish correctly. All of these little tricks are designed to do the same thing, get you to actively fix your own errors, which makes the learning so much deeper.
Okay, last section, the big payoff. So you've gone through all this, no translation, tons of active participation, figuring things out for yourself. What's the end result? What's the big payoff here?
Well, the biggest advantage is that you learn to actually use the language. It's practical. Because it's so active and engaging, you stay alert. You pick up common words really quickly, which is a huge confidence booster right at the start. It also builds a great foundation for your reading and writing. And maybe most importantly, you're judged on whether you can actually communicate, not just on whether you know a bunch of grammar rules. Now, it wasn't perfect. Of course, this method needs really, really good teachers, and it can be tough for teaching abstract ideas or for big classes. So that leaves us with one big question. How has this direct method shaped the way we learn languages today? I mean, let's be real. You probably won't find a pure direct method class anymore, but its DNA is everywhere. That whole idea of focusing on communication instead of just memorization, that's the direct method. The emphasis on actually using the language in class, direct method. Learning grammar by discovering it yourself, you guessed it. It's basically the grandparent of most modern language teaching. Think about immersion schools or even the interactive exercises on the language app on your phone. They all owe a huge debt to that rebellious, century-old idea that the best way to learn a new language is to learn it just like you learned your very first one.
The direct method, DEM, main purpose. To enable direct communication in the target language. To allow students to use language in real-life situations through immersion-based learning. Characteristics of DEM. 1. Emphasis on oral communication. Oral fluency and pronunciation are developed from the very beginning. 2. Focus on 4 skills. Reading, writing, speaking, and listening are all emphasized, with particular attention to listening and speaking. 3. Exclusion of the mother tongue. The student's native language is not used in the classroom. Translation is prohibited. 4. Vocabulary emphasis. Vocabulary is introduced through realia, pictures, or pantomime rather than grammar explanation. 5. Inductive grammar teaching. Grammar rules are illustrated visually and learned through use, rather than being explicitly explained. 6. Language use over language knowledge. Students are encouraged to actively use the target language, not merely learn about it. Classroom interaction in DM. Teacher-student interaction. The teacher acts as a facilitator and guide. Student-student interaction. Students engage in bidirectional communication activities. Role of the student in DM. Student Role of the student in DM. Students take a more active role than in GTM. They participate in spoken communication and interactive activities. They associate words directly with meanings, without relying on translation. Role of the teacher in DM. 1. Acts as a facilitator of communication. 2. Uses interactive activities, e.g., conversations, role plays, to immerse students. 3. Speaks exclusively in the target language. 4. Motivates students to think, respond, and interact naturally. 5. Encourages self-correction when students make errors. 6. Develops fluency by promoting natural acquisition and building students' confidence. Self-correction when students make errors. 6. Develops fluency by promoting natural acquisition and building students' confidence. Techniques in DM. 1. Reading aloud. Students read texts or dialogues aloud to improve fluency and pronunciation. 2. Self-correction. Students identify and correct their mistakes using teacher prompts. The teacher offers choices or repeats the student's sentence in a questioning tone. The teacher stops just before the error, encouraging student repair. The teacher repeats what the student said, stopping just before the error. 3. Dictation. The teacher reads a passage. First time. Normal speed, students listen. Second time. Phrase by phrase, students write. Third time. Normal speed again, students check. 4. Fill in the blank. Grammar rules are not included in the prompts. Students fill in blanks using vocabulary. 5. Conversation practice. The teacher encourages students to respond by asking questions in TL to check understanding. Students practice speaking and listening skills by engaging in conversation. Communication in TL is fulfilled. 6. Paragraph writing. Students write guided paragraphs based on what they've read, using sentence starters and vocabulary. 1. 1. Reading aloud. The teacher selects a short passage and invites students to read it aloud individually. Example: a student reads, "The sun rises in the east." The teacher listens carefully and provides immediate pronunciation correction, if needed. 2. Self-correction. The teacher prompts students to recognize and correct their own errors. Example: a student says, "She go to school every day." The teacher gestures or repeats the sentence with a questioning tone. The student realizes the mistake and corrects it. "She goes to school every day." 3. Dictation. The teacher reads a sentence multiple times while students listen and write it down. Example: the teacher says, "The birds are flying in the sky." Students write the sentence as they hear it, reinforcing their listening and writing accuracy. 4. Fill in the blank. The teacher presents an incomplete sentence and asks students to supply the missing word. Example: the ___ is shining in the sky. Students complete the sentence with the word sun, reinforcing vocabulary and sentence structure. 5. Conversation practice. Students practice spontaneous dialogue in the target language with one another. Example: Student A, "Where do you live?" Student B, "I live in Cairo." The teacher monitors for fluency and encourages natural use of language. 6. Paragraph writing. The teacher assigns a short writing task and guides students to use appropriate vocabulary and grammatical structures. Example: students write a paragraph about the daily routine. "Every morning, I wake up at 7 a.m. I eat breakfast and go to school. In the evening, I study and then go to bed at 10 p.m. Advantages of DM. 1. Emphasizes all 4 language skills, especially listening and speaking. 2. Promotes immersive learning through exclusive target language use. 3. Mimics natural language acquisition, like first language learning. 4. Encourages active participation in class. 5. Builds fluency and confidence in communication. Disadvantages, limitations. 1. Requires highly skilled teachers and small class sizes. 2. May not be suitable for complete beginners, better suited for children or intermediate learners. 3. Avoids explicit grammar instruction, which may not suit all learners. 4. Achieving proficiency may take a long time.
DM Short Notes Questions. 1. What skill does the direct method prioritize from the beginning? The direct method prioritizes listening and speaking skills from the beginning of language learning. Students learn the language through oral communication before reading and writing. 2. What is the purpose of self-correction in the direct method? The purpose of self-correction is to help students discover and correct their own mistakes. This increases learner independence and improves language accuracy. 3. How do students self-correct themselves in the direct method? Students self-correct through teacher guidance. The teacher may repeat the sentence, ask a question, or give a clue until students notice and correct their own errors. Example: student, he go to school. Teacher, he goes to school. Essay questions. 1. How are vocabulary and grammar taught in the direct method? Vocabulary teaching. Vocabulary is taught directly in the target language without translation. Teachers use realia, real objects, pictures, demonstration, context. Example: the teacher shows an apple and says, "This is an apple." Students understand the meaning without using Arabic. Grammar teaching. Grammar is taught inductively. Students see examples first and then discover the rule. Example: students hear, "I play football," "she plays football," Then they discover the present simple rule. In the direct method, vocabulary is taught through direct experience, and grammar is learned inductively through examples. Number 2, in what ways does the direct method differ from the grammar translation method in terms of grammar instruction, vocabulary teaching, and classroom interaction? Aspect direct method DM, grammar translation method, grammar inductive deductive, vocabulary, pictures, objects, actions, translation and word lists, language, used, target language only, mother tongue, interaction, high interaction, low interaction, skills focus, listening and speaking, reading and writing, student role, active, passive, teacher role, facilitator, authority. The direct method focuses on communication and natural language learning, while GTM focuses on grammar and translation. Number 3, describe 2 techniques used in the direct method. Technique 1, question and answer. The teacher asks questions in the target language and students answer directly. Example, teacher, what is your name? Student, my name is Ali. Technique 2, self-correction. The teacher encourages students to correct their own mistakes instead of giving the answer directly. Example, student, she go. She goes. Conclusion, question and answer practice and self-correction are important techniques because they improve speaking and learner independence.